3.3D, divide fractions. I do this lesson usually in conjunction with the multiplication because if you read what it says in the box, to divide a fraction, you multiply by its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal. So basically what's happening here today is division isn't really division, it's multiplication. You're doing what we just did in the other lesson. We just need to talk about multiplicative inverse for a minute though. So multiplicative inverse and reciprocal are the same thing. So if you saw 2/3, its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal is 3/2. So if you got 5/6, what would the multiplicative inverse or reciprocal be? Jacob? 6/5. Okay, let's look at some that it might be a little more interesting. What if I said 1/4? What would that multiplicative inverse be? Kirsten? 4/1, or you could even say 4. All right, what about if you had the number 5 to begin with? What's its multiplicative inverse? Not 5/1. Dylan?
1/5.
1/5, because you have got to think about the 5 being 5/1 and then flip it over. All right, I'm going to do one more. What if I said 1, oops, said 1 and did 2. Let's just go with 2. 2 1/4. I need the multiplicative inverse of 2 1/4. Andrew, what do you think?
2 and 4/1.
No, you can't do that. You can't do 2 and 4/1. You got to change it. Jade, what are you thinking?
4/10.
Close. Not 4/10. Where'd you get your 10? Okay, what's 4 times 2? 8 plus 1. So 2 1/4 is 9/4. So what's the reciprocal? 4/9. That's what it is. I thought that's what you were thinking. So you had the idea right, just made a little oops so on the calculation. 4/9. So you have to be prepared to write the multiplicative inverse reciprocal, then do exactly what we did with multiplication. All right, so when you're doing these problems today, you probably are going to want to write the problem correctly and then proceed with the problem. So let's try, go ahead and write down number 1. And on your papers, you should write number 1 as 2/3 divided by 1/4, so you can see where you came from. Then you're definitely going to have to do this, 2/3, changing it to multiplication, and then flipping the second fraction, 4/1. So division, you don't really divide, you change it to multiplication of the reciprocal or multiplicative inverse of the second fraction. So 2/3 times 4/1, there's nothing that can cancel from top to bottom. So you multiply straight across and you get 8/3. You cannot stop at 8/3. You've got to change it from an improper fraction into a mixed number. 3 goes into 8 twice. That's the whole part with 2 left over. So equals 2 2/3. Okay. Number 3. Is there somebody that hasn't gotten a ticket that would like to try number 3? All right, Mason, would you like to try number 3?
Yeah.
All right, it's a negative divided by it's a negative 1/2 divided by a positive 1/5. What are you thinking?
Negative 1/2 times 5/1.
Yes, negative 1/2 times 5/1. Now what?
5
Negative 5/2, but what's wrong with that?
make it mixed number.
Yep, you got to make it a mixed number. So 5 divided by 2. Yeah, so my final answer?
Negative two.
-2 1/2. -2 1/2. Okay, let's look at number 5. Somebody that hasn't gotten a ticket. I'm hoping. Allison. Okay. Allison, 5/8 divided by 10. Let's fix that 10 to start with. 10 would really be over what? Yeah, let's do that so we don't get confused. It really is 10 over 1. Now, Allison, will you write that problem the right way so we can multiply it? 5 over 8 times 1 over 10. Does anything cancel?
Yeah.
It is anything from the top with anything from the bottom. Anything cancel out? The 5 and 10 become a what? 1, and the 10 becomes 2. And multiply straight across. 1 over 16. Good job. Good job. Okay, let's look at number 7. 5/6 divided by 3 1/2. Before we get too far, Eli, we're going to let you do this one. 5/6 is going to stay the same, Eli, and we're going to leave division there. Everybody do that. Leave division there to begin with. Before you change to multiplication, you need to change 3 1/2 to to a fraction. So Eli, what would that be? Very good. 7 over 2. Now we're ready to rewrite as multiplication. So 5/6, and what's the rest of it, Eli? Times 2 over 7. Now, are you seeing anything that will cancel out? What will cancel? Oh, sorry. Well, I see something that will cancel. 5 pretty much doesn't go into anything that 6 or 7 has, but 2 might. 2 and 6, definitely. So 2 and 6, if you divide out 2's, Eli, what would be left there? So 2 divided by 2 would become what? 1, and 6 divided by 2 would become 3. So we're just dividing out common factors. That's what you do. When you multiply straight across now, 5 times 1 on the top is 5 over 3 times 7 on the bottom. 21. 5 over 21. Okay, so we are going to skip ahead to number 11. 6 2/3 divided by 3 1/9. Both of them have to be rewritten as improper fractions before you change to multiplication. So who's going to do this one? Who hasn't gotten a ticket yet that wants to try for one? Well, let's see if we can find somebody that hasn't gotten a ticket that wants to try for one. Nico? 6 2/3. What's that going to become? What's 3 times 6?
18.
Plus 2.
20.
So that's 20 over 3 divided by, what's 9 times 3?
26.
Plus 1. 28 over 9. Now, we have to rewrite this problem. So 20 over 3 times what? 9 over 28. Now, does anything cancel out? What are we going to try to cancel out? There might be a couple of things I think that you can see to cancel out. So what are you thinking? Three with, right, we can divide both of those by 3. So Nico, 3 divided by 3 leaves what? 1. And then 9 divided by 3 leaves 3. Okay, now the other one's a little trickier. Can we see that that's a 3, I hope? I'm thinking I'm making more of a mess of it. That's a 3. Okay, the 20 and the 28. First of all, Nico, those are definitely both even. So if we had to, we could go that route. But I'm thinking that there's a bigger number that I can divide out of 20 and 28. Can you think of what it might be? 4. Let's try to divide both of those by 4. So 20 divided by 4 would leave what? 5. And 28 divided by 4 would leave 7. So now all I have at the top is a 5 and a 3, the bottom a 1 and a 7. We don't have anything else in common. You did really well. So let's multiply straight across, Nico. 5 times 3 on the top, 15, and 1 times 7 on the bottom. So 15 sevenths. Is that a good final answer?
No.
Nope. What do I got to do? 15 divided by 7. How many full times does that go in there? 2. So that is our whole part. And what's left over? 2 and 1/7. Questions? So you've got to watch your signs. You've got to make sure they're all written as fractions. Rewrite the problem as multiplication, and then you flip the second one. You're looking for any common factors to cancel out from top to bottom because your final answer has to be simplified. Are there any questions?